impacted my vote when it came to gaming. Some of you will recall I was one of 2 people in members of council that voted against gaming. And a lot of that was because of my Moravian input, my Moravian influence. I have a daughter who has had a lesbian relationship, and one of my grandchildren is one that has 2 mothers, where 2 women were together and had their relationship. And that has impacted my relationship because I see how she was prejudiced against and how that impacted her life. And I was reminded recently of a movie at Arts Quest that was shown called I Am. I don't know if any of you have seen I Am, but if you haven't, you should. It's absolutely fantastic. And the bottom line is we all have the same DNA. We all are one. We all are based on love. And if there's anything that, regardless of whose religion it is, when they talk about something, usually love is what they talk about because it's the only thing that remains to be the bottom line. And that's what we want to do here in Bethlehem. That's what we try to do here in Bethlehem. That's what I've tried to do in all my political career, was to focus around one. That we're all loved. It doesn't matter what we come from, what we look like, what we are. We are to love one another. And that's what we're called to do, as far as I'm concerned, all religions. So I think love is the essence of point. We're all in the partnership together. That's what Arts Quest is all about. That's what it means. And I'm happy to vote for this for tonight and wish all of us well. And thank you all for coming and your persistence to sit here as long as you've sat. And you don't even get paid to do it. Amen.
Any other comments from council? Let me just say before I call the roll, we had 119 people that spoke on this issue over the course of, I guess when we had our first committee meeting was about 2 months ago. I believe City Council, this was a very open process. We started with amendments, we changed amendments, we changed wording. I think the process worked. I will support this. I've always viewed it as an anti-discrimination ordinance, and I always felt that it needed some teeth. That's why I supported the expanded powers. I have a different view on religion. I favor a broad interpretation, but I hope you can respect that, as I respect your view. But I think that this is an important piece of legislation. But I think what's important here is I can't remember really a debate. Well, I can remember a few dealing with the casino and the sale of the landfill where we had tremendous audience participation. In fact, I remember one meeting that went to almost 2:30 in the morning, and I'm sure Mr. Riker may remember that meeting, and on the landfill. So we've had some long meetings, but again, I think what's unique about Bethlehem, and many of you are not from Bethlehem, is the way our process here works. And I've always said Bethlehem Council is unique. We could debate with each other, and we have a sense of professionalism and decorum. And we respect people who go to that microphone, even if you have a different point of view than us. And I think that's what makes Bethlehem City Council so unique. And this is an important piece of legislation, there's no question about it. As I said, I viewed it as an anti-discrimination ordinance, but I felt we needed subpoena power. But when you really read it, from first page to last page, it's very encompassing. There's a lot of information in this ordinance here. And sometimes you just don't get it by reading a summary on the net or in the newspaper. So I certainly will support this, and I ask the clerk to call the roll. On Bill 12 as amendment, a vote of aye is the vote yes on this bill.
Mrs. Valinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Maurer.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Doncheck.
Aye.
7 yes.
We will move it passes 7-0. We will move to Bill 13, amending the general fund budget, Health Bureau adjustments. Bill 13.
An ordinance of the City of Bethlehem, County
Unless
of
everyone's gonna get up.
Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and the general fund budget for 2011 by J. William Reynolds.
Comments on 13? Please call the roll.
Mrs.
They care so much
Aye.
about Bethlehem, they also got it.
Aye. Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Mallon? Mr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Mr. Dodge?
Aye.
Is the fox going? Barrel's going. You gotta go right.
You kind of have to close the doors over there, I would appreciate it. We'll move to Bill 14, amending the liquid fuels fund budget 2011 allocation. Bill
Now it's
14.
cooler in
An
here.
ordinance of the City of Bethlehem, County of Lehigh, and Northampton, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending the liquid fuels fund budget for 2011, sponsored by J. William Reynolds and Eric Evans.
Comments?
Cooler.
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Blinsky. Aye. Mr. DeGiacinto. Ms. Dolan. Aye. Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Mallon. Aye. Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Dodge.
Aye.
7-0 passes.
9D, Bill 15, amending a non-utility capital budget, street paver, Betco fund. Bill 15.
An ordinance of the City of Bethlehem, Counties of Lehigh and Northampton, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending the 2011 capital budget for non-utilities, sponsored by J. William Reynolds and David DeGiacinto.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Blinsky. Aye. Mr. DeGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan. Aye. Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Mallon. Aye. Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Dodge.
Aye.
7-0 passes.
9E, Bill 16, amending the sewer capital budget account adjustments.
Ordinance of the City of Bethlehem, Counties of Lehigh and Northampton, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending the 2011 capital budget for sewer utilities. Bill number 16 is sponsored by J. William Reynolds and David DeGiacinto.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Blinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DeGiacinto. Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Mallon. Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Dodge.
Aye.
7-0 passes.
We'll move to resolutions. Resolution 11A. Lease agreement, Arts Quest, Bethlehem Redevelopment Authority, Bethlehem Landing Building, Visitors Center, Levitt Pavilion, Steel Stacks, Public Plazas. Resolution 11A.
Whereas the redevelopment authority has acquired real property situated within the Bethlehem Works redevelopment area tax incremental financing district. Whereas the redevelopment authority desires to lease certain real property to Arts Quest under the terms and conditions of the lease agreement. Whereas the urban redevelopment law at section 35-1709K requires the lease of any real property within a redevelopment area subject to the approval by Bethlehem City Council. Bethlehem City Council is advised by the redevelopment authority that the lease will not be prejudicial to the sale or lease of other parts of the Bethlehem Works redevelopment area, nor will the lease be in any way prejudicial to the realization of the redevelopment proposal approved by the City of Bethlehem. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Bethlehem that the lease is approved in accordance with 35 PS 1709K referred to above, and that the chairperson and/or the executive director of the redevelopment authority of the city are hereby authorized to execute the lease agreement by and between the redevelopment authority and Arts Quest attached hereto, and such other and further agreements or documents as deemed necessary by the redevelopment authority solicitor to be necessary or related thereto. Resolution 11A is sponsored by Eric Evans and Gordon Mallon.
Comments? Ms. Dolan?
Do we have any problem with the title? Is it an issue if the title of a resolution is a little bit inaccurate, since the agreement doesn't encompass all of Steel Stack's public plazas? I just want to make sure that that won't cause any
Dolan, maybe Mr.
issues.
Cooper wants to comment on that, or I'm sorry, Joe, sir. Mr. Dolan?
The resolution is listed as appropriate. The lease speaks for itself, and in fact, there's been a revision, I believe, by Mr. Kelly that was circulated several days ago as the leased area, which is attached to the lease.
Okay, okay.
Any other, Mr. Evans?
I just want to make a comment that when we approved that TIF months ago, one of my concerns out there that was bothering me was the fact that certain areas within the TIF, how it would be funded. We talked about the visitor center especially. We knew we had that. We knew we had the funding for the infrastructure or the capital asset, but the operations is a large cost. And I think what we have here in this lease it is a very fair lease. It's definitely a partnership, we're giving something, but there's something like when you look through this Q book or anything that the Arts Quest is producing in order of programs, the city can't do that. But by having someone, a top premier organization like Arts Quest, do that, it is going to help the city. There's no doubt about that. It's going to bring 750,000 visitors every year for the number of years it's here. That's something the city can't do. But by doing that, we always talk about, mayors always talk about bringing in tourism dollars. How do we bring in money and they want to build? They always talk about the sector they want to build is tourism. I can't think of a better way than to do it this way. And the fact that the Sands has been such a great civic partner to date, combining with this, and when the Sands opened up their hotel a couple weeks ago, and we got to go up the 9th floor and look at the rooms, looking out over this complex that's building that 10 years ago was all brownfield, and even though we put a TIF plan together, that administration at the time, the council at the time, approved the TIF, no one knew what it would look like. I think you can only be very happy that 10 years ago, what was there versus what stands there today, during this economy that we had to deal with, you can't be anything but pleased. I think the lease itself specifically is fair. On pages 6 and 7 of it, it is covering, it's a net lease, they're covering everything. They're covering the water, the electric, everything to run the operations in it. I do share concerns with some of our historic groups. I want to make sure that that pledge that was made to keep everyone involved in the visitor center, which is going to be, again, a great place as this is developed all steps of the way. Everything that's come out has come out terrifically. We get a shot at this, and we want to make sure we do it right, and the way to do it is keep it transparent, keep those groups involved. But I'm very pleased with the lease overall, and I, of course, wish it great success.
Any other comments from council?
Just very
Ms.
quick.
Dolan, go ahead.
I would concur with everything that was stated by Councilman Evans, and just clarify that the visitor center would be run, operated by Discover Lehigh Valley, which their mission is to support tourism across the Lehigh Valley. So I don't think that we need to worry about inclusion, because although we ought to watch it very closely, but that is what they do. They want to highlight, and as I said to a citizen earlier, they really are going to be there to make sure that people who visit that section of Bethlehem don't just stay in Bethlehem visiting steel stacks. They're going to be there encouraging people to go to the Ice House, to go to Allentown, to go to the ball field. Their goal is to get tourists to stay for a long weekend, 4 days instead of a single day. That's their mission. So I would encourage any organization that wants to assist in their ability to manage that mission to step forward and get involved, because that's what's going to make that happen, yes or no. But I just concur with everything that Councilman Evans says. I think this is the most vetted lease agreement in Bethlehem history. Everything is handled in this lease.
Any other comments? I would concur. I agree with Mr. Evans' comments. I would hope, though, that all the historic organizations would be involved, the South Bethlehem Historical Society and others. And but I do think it's a good public-private partnership where Arts Quest is really picking up quite a bit for the city, and the city has its responsibilities as far as streets and snow removal goes. But I think it's good for the city, and this is just really for City Council's role. It's an approval of the lease. The lease is really between, correct me, Mr. Spadoni, between a redevelopment authority and Arts Quest.
Correct.
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DeGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Mauer.
It's right here.
We'll come back to
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Call Mr. Mauer.
Mr. Mauer.
Aye.
Mr. Natchez.
Aye.
7-0
7-0 passes. The chair will accept the motion by Mr. Evans, second by Ms. Dolan, to consider resolutions 11B through 11I as a group. I ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion and to read resolutions B through I.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DeGiacinto. Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Mauer.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Natchez.
Aye.
all our certificates of appropriateness under the provisions of the Act of the Pennsylvania Legislature and Bethlehem Ordinance. 11B, a proposal to repaint the exterior trim shutter and doors at 456 North New Street. 11C, to replace the trans-molded front door at 36 East Wall Street. 11D, to re-roof the east, west, and north roofs to match the south roof at 45 East Wall Street. 11E, to install 2 outdoor sculptures on the lawn in front of the Payne Gallery at 99 West Church Street. 11F, to replace a wooden fence at the rear of the property at 452 to 460 Main Street with a wrought iron fence. 11G, to install a handrail at the outdoor basement stairwell at 29 East Wall Street. 11H, to provide tables and chairs for outdoor dining at 4 through 7 Main Street. 11I, to install 2 awnings with embedded light emitting outlines of letters at 81 West Broad Street. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Bethlehem that certificates of appropriateness are hereby granted for the work. The resolutions are sponsored by David D. Jacinto and Eric Evans.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. D. Jacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Mauer.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Doncheck.
Aye. We'll move to new business from council. We'll move to courtesy of the floor. I'm sorry, Mr. Reynolds.
I want to announce that there will be a Finance Committee meeting on Monday, June 27, at 7 p.m. in the Mayor's Conference Room. Note the venue change. I believe there's a Planning Commission meeting that night, which here in Town Hall, so we will be in the Mayor's Conference Room at 7 p.m. on Monday, June 27. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dolan.
Actually mistakenly already announced this, but I could quickly announce it again.
Go right ahead.
Okay. There will be a Community Development Committee meeting on Tuesday, June 28th, 2011 at 7 p.m. in Town Hall, and the subject is the Historic Preservation Plan.
Thank you. Any other new business? Now we'll move to courtesy of the floor. For public comment on any issue, Ms. Lee?
Esther Lee, 627 Cherokee Street in Bethlehem. As I came in this evening as well, on the end of the committee meeting, I wanted to just have this expression because I have a habit sometime of wanting to express myself on the street. And so, in view of what was said, solicitor's laughing because he noticed. And I think it was in the Town Square piece. I don't know where it's recorded or where it needs to be emphasized, that I think that citizens ought to always have the right to have freedom of expression. So I just want to ensure that you as council, when you look at the document, that sometimes these things slip through, as with the historical piece. We've got 2 historical societies, and I concur. Even we as Negroes are putting together Negro history. And so that is yet to come forward. But I wanted to put this into place, say it publicly. I thank you as a council for passing the Human Relations Commission for Bethlehem. It's all needed. I think tomorrow I'll send out a cable to all the Negroes who had to leave Bethlehem to find employment, back in the early 1900s. It's been very difficult for us. We don't hear you talk about us much, but just know that there's a group out there you can apologize for, everybody can say you love. I'm hearing all of it, but I'm going to send a cable in the morning. There are some of them still alive, and so they'd be happy to hear. And then the other piece that I want to mention is that, didn't hear you say anything about it tonight, the 17.5% projected increase in water. I'd like to know where that's going. As I said before, people on fixed incomes, be more considerate of us, and others who may be on limited incomes. But I appreciate all that's been done. We're moving forward in the city of Bethlehem, and I pray, I don't know when it'll happen, but things will improve if we and you all ensure that it does. Thanks.
Thank you. Bring it back.
Those seats are killers. My name is Dixie White. I live at 529 Ontario Street, just a block from 5 Points. But it took me 20 minutes to get out of the south side today. So I was late for my doctor appointment. I think Mr. Antolik spoke a couple weeks ago about the daily crapshoot of which presidential streets are closed so you can get from 3rd to 4th. I hope it gets all fixed soon. I want to thank you for passing the Human Relations Commission ordinance. Like Mr. Maurer, I also opposed the casinos and spoke quite a bit about that. At that time, I was speaking on behalf of the Council of Churches. And because of that, I differed with some of my labor brothers and sisters. I'm also a member of the Lehigh Valley Labor Council. And what I said was, you know, those guys are anti-labor, they're anti-union, and guess what? I was right, they're still there, aren't they? So I also am concerned about free speech in the so-called town square. I want to bring up 2 other items. One of the things that I have been very pleased about recently is the curbside recycling program. I am a champion recycler. My neighbors folks across the street from me put out 6 bags of garbage every week. I put out 1 bag every 3 weeks because everything else is either composted or recycled. And so I was pretty upset to hear that we might go to municipal garbage collection. I'm currently paying $3.50 a bag every 3 weeks, and I'm on a fixed income. I don't want to have to support my neighbor's inability to recycle. I'd be very upset about that. A related issue is the composting center. I am thrilled with our composting center. Right now, there's nothing there. They're waiting for everything to heat up and be ready so that mulch will be available again. And I've been disturbed in the past, and I understand this might be under consideration soon. How is it that commercial operators are able to pull in their trucks and fill up, load up with mulch and compost that I, as a taxpayer, have helped to pay for, and then they go off and they sell it to their customers? This happened to a church in the area. I understand it has also happened to somebody who works at the composting center, that one of their relatives was charged for mulch that came from the city compost center. So I hope you'll take those issues into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nile?
He's a flamethrower.
Chuck Nile, 1966 Pinehurst Road, Northwest Bethlehem. I haven't visited you people for quite a while. However, this is a hefty meeting you had. Discrimination. Back in the Roman times, think about this, there was a man crucified outside of Jerusalem. On the left was a thief, on the right was a thief. On the left, the man on the left was crucifying our Lord, cursing him, asking him to bring the angels down and save him because he was afraid of his skin. On the right, the man was asking for mercy and pleading with God to save his soul. Discrimination, God said to him on the right, "From this day forward, you will be with me in eternity." Question. What's the same between Walt Disney World and the city of Bethlehem? How about a $90,000 man to take over Hector Nevis's parking authority? Just because he came from Walt Disney World? You got to be out of your mind. You want to talk about discrimination? There you are. Anybody can park cars down in Walt Disney World. They got so many parking lots, it isn't funny. They don't put quarters in slots and say, 2 hours, I gotta get the heck out of here. They go in there by tram car, boom, boom, bang, he's in there, drops the car off. 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, no problem. We give this guy $90,000. Why didn't you give Bob Cruz? He understood it to Hector. Why didn't you give him the job? He knows more about this city than this guy does. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry. These people didn't stick around. I'm sitting up there. I had to listen to all their words. You talk about city of Bethlehem people that walk out. There they go. They didn't care about us people sitting here. That was a sham. I want to quote to you. Bad things happen to good people. And in this city, there's many, many thousands of good people. But you 7 are creating some hell of a bad situations.
Any other public? Ms. Fleming?
For representing 2830 Linden Street, I was going to rise to first courtesy, then I decided what I am about to say is more of a commentary and opinion and not an advocacy position, so I decided to defer to second. First, on this freedom of speech issue, I haven't heard any intelligent remarks about it yet tonight. The deed restrictions were already there in parcels 10B, 10A, 26, and 26A. Those are owned by ArtsQuest and PBS. The only governmental parcel is 2-2, which is the lease parcel. So this council and the redevelopment authority has no axe to grind in this other than behind the scenes. If people don't like it, go talk to ArtsQuest and PBS who signed off on the deeds way back when, in October of 2009, at least for ArtsQuest. It's not a city issue, it's not an RDA issue. Sands Casino. We're responsible for about 15% of our revenue in the general fund. Owns a lot of land down there. Gave a lot of that land away so we could put in the steel stacks project. Even though free speech is a great thing, I don't see anything wrong with them saying, hey, we're not giving you this land so you can stand there and badmouth us. We're not giving you this land so you can stand there and do things that will ruin our business. And we don't want you meddling in our employee relations. I don't see anything wrong with that personally. Well, people probably disagree with me on that, but I don't see anything wrong with it since it was their land and they gave it to us. Moving forward to ArtsQuest, as Ms. Olenoff told me in her piece this week, a frequent critic of ArtsQuest. 2 things I don't like about the Steel Stacks project. First is the backroom dealings and all. This went on since March of '09 when Feinberg was hired by Bedco to start this whole project. And until the school board and the county started making noises about the agreement, it didn't surface. The plans were top secret. The public was kept out of it until the latest, August or September of 10. That ain't good government. Point 2, and I am in a distinct minority on this point of view, but I will still hold it. I don't think government has does not have a function, it's not a core function of government to provide its citizens with entertainment. If ArtsQuest and all of the culture and the arts and all, if you had tabled that lease for 2 weeks, they would have lost their beer license for Music Fest. So it's entertainment, folks, that ain't arts and culture. So I don't think that's business, especially in times of economic difficulties. You laid off city workers, you're watching your police force drop in numbers, can't even afford a police dog. Yet you already gave them $40,000 in a service agreement, the controller said something against. And basically this whole public partnership, private partnership is a big free ride. I don't think that has any business there. Now, I mean, I admit, the community will be better off for it. It's a well-run organization, all that good stuff, but I just don't think government has anything to do with it. Now, let me give you my take on this human relations ordinance that was passed. Just a bunch of observations. In May of 2009, the Sands Casino opened. There wasn't a peep from anybody about whether the LGBT visitors would be discriminated against. Fast forward to last fall, had a congressional campaign, and the idea of a Human Relations Commission surfaced. Move to the spring. Arts Quest opens, and we have to have a protection to protect against discrimination the LGBT visitors.